how to do what's called an instant X-ray on Morningstar. What this does is analyzes the components of a portfolio and tells you how it's weighted across different sectors and different size stocks, whether they're growth or value stocks. Um, it also analyzes the proportion you have invested in each country and things like that. So what I want y'all to do is analyze your SIMs. If you have a couple, analyze them as a couple. Don't analyze them each separately. And analyze their current investments. So just basically look at the investments that I said that they have. So I'm going to do, for this example, the demo SIMs. And I've got Joe and Jane. And what this screen is showing you is what you input on this screen are the ticker symbols of the funds that your SIMs are invested in and the dollar amount that they have invested in each fund. And it'll calculate the weights and the allocations that they have. So Joe is invested in 2 funds. The Fidelity Advisor Total Bond A fund, and he's got $16,000 invested in that. Again, this is just given for each SIM. He also has $16,000 invested in the Small Cap Growth Index Fund. And Jane also has some money invested, and she keeps hers in the Janus 20 fund. She has $12,000 invested in that right now. So what Morningstar is going to do is calculate the sum of these 3 numbers and the weights that's invested in each fund. So click on Show Instant X-Ray. It's going to take it a moment to analyze it, but then it pops up different bits of information about the fund. And here's where I just want you to evaluate how diversified the fund is and look at your SIM's ages. If they're quite young, they probably shouldn't have any money in bonds. Joe and Jane are about 30, they're 36 and 37. That's fairly young. I might argue they shouldn't have any money in bonds, but certainly not 36%. That's a very heavy weight to have for bonds in a portfolio for a couple that's that young. If they were in their 60s, I think early 60s, 36% in bonds would be okay. But for somebody in their mid-30s, this is too heavy of a weight, in my opinion, to have in bonds. So when I would go to recommend funds for them, I wouldn't put much at all in bonds, maybe 10%. No more, I don't think, than 15%. So right now, their current portfolio has some serious problems. I think it's too heavily weighted in bonds. It has essentially nothing in foreign stocks, and it should have some. So what I do is shift some of that money out of bonds into foreign stocks. When I look at what's called their style matrix, they have a decent amount in small cap stocks, 29% of their equity. But remember, equity is not 100% of their portfolio. It's only about 63% of their portfolio. But 29% of that equity is invested in small cap stocks. Although it doesn't have much in terms of small cap value. It's mostly small cap core, or what sometimes they call blend, and small cap growth. Again, it's missing a lot on this value column, so I wouldn't say it's well diversified across the different styles that Morningstar assigns. I'd add some small cap value. I'd add all of the different sizes in terms of value. Take some out of growth, put it in value. I never really talked about a whole lot about interest rate sensitivity. I wouldn't necessarily worry about that. If you think yours looks strange, send it to me and I'll look at it. This column right here shows me how the overall U.S. stock market is broken down by sector. This isn't to say you have to perfectly emulate that. And when I look at Jane and Joe Sim, they're not doing a great job of emulating it. Again, that's not necessarily their goal. They're a little underweighted in defensive sectors, overweighted in the cyclical sectors. Maybe they would want to be more equally weighted. That would certainly make them diversified like the US stock market. It's going to be a little difficult to achieve that without perhaps buying a total US stock market fund, though. The big problem that they have, too, though, is their geographic breakdown. All of their stocks, or the bulk of their stocks, are concentrated in North America, so they need some foreign stocks in their portfolio. How much? Maybe 40%, maybe a little less. That's really up to you to decide, but to have a well-diversified portfolio, you need some composition across different regions of the world. I've never discussed the statistics, and I don't plan to, so you don't have to worry about this part. And then I want to talk a little about this section. Jane and Joe Sim haven't chosen mutual funds that have extremely high fees. Some of you are going to see fees that might be over 1% for your Sims funds. That's high. That's huge. So when you choose funds for them, choose funds that will have very low fees. And since I've limited you to only Vanguard index funds, all of those funds have low fees. So what I want you to do is do this instant X-ray for your Sims just based on the funds that I've told you they've invested in. And then choose funds for them, choose weighting schemes for them, and then do an instant X-ray for your fund choices and your weighting schemes, and print both of those. I have no idea how to stop recording this video.